So this workshop will be very, very hands-on, so very experiential.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
I think we're back. Just give me an answer. That's well done. We also work appreciatively. So we're trying to focus initially, at least, on what is great, what is awesome about the young folks that we're working with, about the communities where we work. So that's what we want to do right now, is we want to give an opportunity as a group for us to form our own sort of community standards or expectations for each other throughout the day.
We started with show respect for others' ideas.
We all appreciate the resources we are given. So that's on a Mother Earth level, like the resources that the Earth have given us, but it would also be resources in our knowledge and experience in our life.
Awesome. So the purpose of the workshops is to bring both young people, so teenagers and early 20s, and adults who work in volunteer-based organizations together, so that they're talking about mostly the topic around volunteering and how can those young people volunteer more in the community. What I've grown to learn over 20 years of doing this work is that young people are very involved, and it may not look like traditional volunteerism, so sometimes it looks like activism. So they're speaking out for a cause that's important to them, anti-bullying, around sexual violence or relationships. But they're doing that volunteering work. It just looks very different. So part of I think for adults, it's about noticing, what are those young people doing, and how do we, as an organization, create opportunities where they're bringing that passion forward.
They're involved in various different activities, but too often those activities are kept separate from the real workings of a community, the real stuff, and nonprofits represent quite a bit of that. And so more effort that can be made to bridge that gap and get young people who are willing and capable of being involved, but just to give them avenues to be able to do that and ways of understanding how they can do that. And as we do that, I think more and more young people will connect.
Young people have tremendous ability and energy. Excellent ideas. What they need is some help in finding a way to express that interest and those abilities. And the nonprofit sector is really ideally placed for that. We believe that the sector is interested in young people and understands the value of that contribution, but sometimes there are barriers, and these workshops provide a way to get over those barriers.
So turn, get people's names again, and then a reason why you might volunteer for something. Why would you be interested in volunteering for something? Go.
So I'm Cheddar.
Because we're asked, and because we want to be part of what we want to see change. So volunteering makes us feel good. Volunteering promotes a good lifestyle. So we do it because it's the right thing to do, and we want to definitely be part of the change that we want to see. So
awesome, great, thanks for that. We're creating this kind of a workshop experience where there's some real meaningful dialogue between the youth and the adults. There's some relationships built, and in the workshops we've done so far, the adults have been saying like, yeah, we just see you as a person, and the youth are saying, yeah, we just see you as a person. It's not this divide between you're an adult, I'm a youth. We're all in there together, trying to make our communities better.
We work with younger facilitators in part because they're bringing something different than what we are, which is that whole same reason of why we're trying to support nonprofits to have younger volunteers, is that as much as I spend a lot of time with young folks, I don't have the same perspective as they do.
All right, I hate to cut the conversation short, but I'm sure there are lots of really cool things that were said. So again, we're modeling what this would look like in your own youth-adult partnerships.
HeartWood has a kind of research approach that we actually researched in Nova Scotia about 15 years ago, and it brings together some of the key elements about why young people engage in a group or in a process or in a community. So what are some of those core values, we call them, to what keeps them engaged? And then the next part to the framework is what are the tools that I as an adult or HeartWood as an organization should use so that young people are feeling those core values. So it's a framework or an approach or a tool that seems quite replicable in many situations when working with young people.
Michael, where's your couch? Exactly you. Well, there's actually
Part of the work we're trying to do with community youth development is look at how young people can have meaningful roles in their communities, and service is it's a pretty natural extension of that.
I don't think organizations that are active like this one today could be where they are without the youth that are involved.
The Community Sector Council's organizing workshops on youth engagement and youth volunteerism as part of the way of continuing the cycle of nonprofit community work and citizen engagement. It's something that when you learn it as a young person and you learn to give of your time and your talents to a cause, to a passion, then that tends to make you a lifelong volunteer.
One of the things that I lament is that I still often hear from folks, oh, I've never had an experience like this before, or I've never participated in a workshop like this before. And on the one hand, you're like, oh, that's great. But on the other hand, it's like, really? You know, are folks not doing, are other folks not also doing this?
I'm hearing from a lot of young adults who are moving back to Nova Scotia because they think it's a great place to be. They love the sense of community, they love the pace, and so I think it's important for us as, you know, older Nova Scotians to really value that.
We have absolutely no doubt that communities love their young, and that the nonprofit organizations that are embedded in those communities care about the perspective of young people. We have to ensure that young people know that and that they find their own way to making a contribution to the nonprofit sector.